NationalSafeChildShow.com.
Welcome to the National Safe Child Show, addressing the health, welfare, and safety of all children nationwide, because it shouldn't hurt to be a child. Here are your hosts, Tammy Stefano and Priscilla Perez.
Hi folks, welcome to the UBN Radio National Safe Child Show. We have an awesome show for you today, and we have a lot to cover. We're going to take this opportunity during today's show to speak to some really important people, some of which don't know that we're calling them yet, but I've been able to get their phone numbers, and we're hopeful that they will be available to answer some questions. As you know, this show began based on the systemic failures going on, not only in our country, but in the entire world when it comes to addressing the safety, the welfare, and the health of children. So we want to really take this opportunity. We have a legal analyst that's going to give us some great legal insight as to many of the cases that we actually address. We've spoken in great detail about the sexual abuse cases of children, parents that have tried to protect their children. When the child discloses to these parents, they are called protective parents, and it's typically the other parent that is being accused of this sexual abuse. We cover these issues because we get so many emails, so many phone calls that this has happened yet to another family's child. And as we go through these cases with these parents, what we find is the parent that is the protective parent ends up slowly through the rabbit hole of losing custody. I mean, it's time and time and time again, and it makes one wonder, how can this be? And people that I speak to that are not involved in any of these horrific situations, and I tell them briefly about these situations, they really are in disbelief. It's really not possible that a child could disclose abuse, especially sexual abuse, and have our courts not believe them, have the children really be silenced in a sense, their voices literally taken away from them. However, that said, as hard as it is to believe that that is the reality of it, we have hundreds of cases to show that this is in fact exactly what is happening in our country. We are not a third world country, folks. We are the prestigious country. We are the land of the free. People from every other country lose their lives sometimes to try to immigrate here. Why? Because the word freedom rings loudly in their ears. And the opportunity that people have to live a life without being under the dictatorship, if you will, of some of these harsh leaders. What we're finding is it isn't all that it's cracked up to be, and I love our country. There's just something that's going wrong here, and we're trying to, it's like an onion. Every time that we unpeel a layer, there's yet another layer that we find that is another mess, whether it's DCFS, the court, people blame the judges, people blame the 730 psychologists, the minors council, the evaluators, the investigators. I mean, it seems to be that there is a great systemic failure. It's that onion, and we can't seem to get to the core, and we're trying desperately, which is why UBN Radio promoted this show and allowed this show and actually opened up a channel not only for the National Safe Child Show, but for shows that would really address the safety of our of society here. And we need to really address this. This is real, folks. We need to be asking these questions. We need to find out why. And most importantly, we need to find out, how do we address this to fix it? Children we teach children how to speak from when they're a year old. We're training them when they're 5 months old. And we're proud of their voice. And we praise them when they finally are able to speak legible words. But when it comes to child abuse, there is a point where we then take that proud accomplishment away from these children. And whether we realize it or not, and whether the courts realize it, I'm not going to say that all the judges are bad. I know several judges that are great people that want to do the right thing. And I know several social workers that are great people. The problem is that there are always some bad mixed in with the good. And thus, that bad is a lot easier to gravitate to. It's more free-spirited. There's no rules. Do what you want. I mean, Gabriel Fernandez's case, I know we bring him up a lot, but his case is really monumental to show the systemic failures here. And Gabriel's case really did show these social workers, they literally, when they got the calls, when they got the referrals, and there was 69 of them, they didn't even stop at his house in many instances. And they call it drive-bys. These social workers had drive-bys to a home where they should have stopped and checked on the safety of a child in which they received this referral. A concerned person called and said a child is in danger. The only thing, folks, that I associate a drive-by with is a shooting, a murder. Unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. There was a drive-by. The social workers drove by, and there was a murder. But it could have been prevented, and that's why we're here. We want to prevent this from happening. We don't want to take our tax-paying money. And folks, it's costing about $750 billion per year of your money. Your hard-earned money. We are busting our butts to make a living, to put food on the tables of our families, to pay our bills that are so high, so outrageous. And you have to know, this is not rocket science. Look into it. Your tax-paying dollars, a good portion, are going to address these issues. And they don't have to. We can take a small portion of that money and address the prevention. And we can save our country. And we can produce a better tomorrow. I remember when Obama first came into office, his jingle, his slogan was change. I am in agreement with that. But the change has to begin when it's just a seedling. Not when the plant is grown and you see all the weeds and you're trying to pick the weeds out to try to save this plant that's being suffocated. And that's the children. And we need to change that. I'm for some reason having my computer. If you can help me. So we have a wonderful legal analyst coming on today. Thank you for joining us today. Her name is Jen Ani. I say she is an expert, and she in fact is an expert when it comes to dependency and family law court cases. She was recently featured on CNN. She covered a case with parents that DCF came in to their home, their very safe and loving home, and plucked their child right out. They plucked the child out, thank you, because one or both of the parents had a medical marijuana card. I have yet to hear, I'm not a pot smoker, but I've yet to hear about any marijuana user who goes crazy. I mean, we legalize alcohol, and we have lots of evidence that alcohol makes people go crazy and do things that they don't remember and kill people and drive drunk. We don't hear that about people who are smoking pot. On the contrary, they're smiling, they're laughing, they're a little goofy, they're forgetful. But for God's sakes, if our state has recognized that they're giving these green light cards falling under the umbrella of medical situations, then who is DCFS to come in and say, we really don't care what the state says. We find you to be at fault because you have this card. And as a matter of fact, you've got a cute, Caucasian, blue-eyed child, and we want to take that child. This has to stop. So Jen was just on CNN. They covered this case. She gave her expert opinion. She's fabulous. She's covering several of these cases, as a matter of fact. And we really want to put her out there, and we want to exploit her expertise, because we need more attorneys that are willing to take charge, to not show fear, to know that this is something that has to be addressed. We all want to make $1 million a year, folks. Listen, you ask anybody and they'll tell you, show me the money. But the bottom line is, if it's at the cost of our communities, of our children, of our future, please think twice. Don't make wrong decisions that'll hurt people. Because like the postman, when he finally got pissed off enough, these parents are eventually going to go postal. And then lots of innocent bystanders are going to be brought in. We don't want to see that happen. So let's be aware of that. Let's be the change. I want to get Jen on the phone. I know she's waiting for our call. John, can you? Okay. Here's the number. Okay. And also, I want to touch on the horrific situation that happened, that recently got uncovered with this Utah mom while we're waiting for John. I am just floored. How does a mother kill her children? Not one child, not a drunken episode, not a freak postpartum depression type of deal, but just child after child after child. I mean, I can't stop reading the articles. 6 of her children, folks. And she was just going on like life was normal. 6 of her children, she stole their lives. I mean, I just wonder what goes through your mind if you have a child and you can't handle it, and then you have another child and you validate the fact, come on, stop having kids. Okay, we're looking to get Jen on the line right now. Hope that she picks up. If she doesn't pick up, we'll just hang right up. Hi, Jen.
Hi.
This is Tammy from the National Safe Child Show. This is Jen Ani. We were talking about you for a moment, Jen. I say that you're an expert attorney. Would you concur, counsel?
Well, I have a lot of experience. I definitely have a lot of experience.
Excellent, excellent. We're bringing you in today, Jen, because first of all, we honor the work that you do. We know that you are such an honorable attorney and that you truly fight for the rights of your clients. And you've covered so many of the dependency and family law cases. And your opinion is really important because parents still are in the dark when it comes to allegations of abuse. And specifically, we were just touching on allegations of sexual abuse. You know, it's my perception from what I've seen, Jen, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that when a child discloses abuse, albeit that the child truly discloses abuse to whichever parent, whether it's mom or dad, and the other parent is being accused of this sexual abuse, the protective parent, as we call them, calls the authorities in place to address these matters, and thus begins what appears to be this quick fall down the rabbit hole.
And so, I gave a lot of thought to that when you asked me to talk about this. And the first thought I had was that, these disclosures occur not in a vacuum. They occur in high conflict cases.
Okay.
And the court is looking at resolution of the matter. So that's the context in which this arises. In other words, a disclosure normally doesn't occur outside that context, or we don't hear about it.
Okay.
Because if it occurs outside that context, it's usually dealt with. But when a disclosure occurs inside the context of a high conflict case, either dependency or a dissolution of marriage, the problem is that the court moves from seeking resolution of the matter to ascertaining truth. And that's a very aggressive and acrimonious process, and that most want to avoid. And it's very uncomfortable for judges to be put in a position of having to be the fact finder. And I think that's what's happening in these cases. People turned a blind eye. I mean, they do publicly. There are, few people that are comfortable discussing this issue. Look at Dillon, for example.
Right.
I mean, that disclosure created a huge amount of debate, and for the very same reasons. And the danger in being the parent who is repeating the disclosure is that you will be mistaken for someone having an alternate agenda. And it's unfortunate, but it's the reality.
Right. Dillon's case seems to be just never ending. It's been in the spotlight recently, and I think a lot of these children who are abused when they're younger, or allegedly abused, because there was never anything substantiated other than her disclosure, I think that when they get older, a lot of these kids finally feel empowered to come out in some sort of way, whether it's a celebrity, whether they're coming out as a celebrity and they're coming out publicly, or they're just coming out to their family because they're pissed off and they're saying, you know what, this really happened to me, and I've been holding this in for 10 years now, and everybody's kind of brushed it under the carpet, but it really happened. So it seems to me, I'm involved with a lot of different groups where after these kids grow up, they get pissed off, and they're coming out and they're saying it like it is, and they're saying the truth, and nobody can suppress their voice.
Right.
Do you think... Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Do you think that the judges, you made a comment and you said the judges are looking to find the truth, and this isn't uncomfortable. This is, to me, it's the most uncomfortable scenario to address.
I did say that they're looking to find the truth, and I guess what I meant to say is that they're actually looking for a resolution. I'm not sure in all cases that the judges are looking for the truth. They're looking for a resolution that can withstand the appellate process, and that often involves a very aggressive and litigious scenario. But I misspoke when I said they're looking to find the truth. What I meant to say is they're looking to find resolution. And so that's the context that you, as a parent who are bringing this disclosure to the court, you have to realize that it's just so dangerous. And in my practice, particularly, if a parent tells me that has happened, I actually do not recommend that we go that route. In other words, what they want is perhaps sole custody, and we'll go that route via other facts. But it is the very last resort that I would ever use that fact, even if I believed it were true, because it's just so dangerous. It's a live cannon, and you don't know, or loose cannon. You don't know whether or not the court is going to look at it from a perspective of, an intelligent, understanding fact finder, or whether they're simply going to make assumptions and brush it under the rug. And so, because you can't know that, it's such a hot issue.
Right.
It's very dangerous to bring up, and I rarely do it. If I can find another way to get the same result, I'll take the second course of action.
So what you're saying is within one case, if there is disclosures of abuse, a disclosure of sexual abuse, and there are other dynamics, you will push the alleged sexual abuse to the bottom of the barrel and try every other course, every other method to get the same results before you actually go there.
No, what I'm saying is that as an attorney,
Okay.
my job is to reach the client's goal. So the client picks the goal, and I
Okay.
pick the strategy. If they tell me their goal, and I believe I can reach that goal without
Okay.
using the sexual abuse disclosure, I won't use it because it's too dangerous. So if I believe that I have a really good shot of meeting their goal, and honestly, in most cases where disclosures have been made, there's other things going on. I don't need to use it.
Right.
A parent often feels that they need the world to know this has happened, and
Right.
that's not important. If I can reach their goal and not use that fact, then that's the winning strategy, and it's so much more reliable than using a disclosure. And truthfully, that issue needs to be addressed in therapy. If that's happened, the court can't help with that.
Right. Do you find, Jen, and this is really, it may be a hypothetical, do you find, given your experience in the cases that you've seen that do involve sexual abuse of a minor child, that when the parent is insistent on going forward to publicize this because inside they feel like they want this justice on behalf of the child, do you find that those parents often lose custody?
It is a legal system, not a justice system.
Wow, that's a great way to put it.
And yes, I do find that a parent, while they may not lose custody, they are not going to get what they want. I definitely have a great amount of empathy for parents in that position.
Right.
But as legal counsel, as their advisor, my best advice is to find another way to get to their goal. And if that's all they have, it is a very dangerous situation. And I have seen people lose custody.
Good parents? Or
Good parents.
Good parents. Safe parents.
Safe parents.
Yeah.
Parents the child wants to remain with. So it's a strategy that I do not recommend. I do not use, quite frankly. I do not use that strategy. Again, the client picks the goal. The attorney picks the strategy. And
right.
I know better than parents know or litigants know that it's a legal system and not a justice system. And so
I love that.
There's a lot of spin that goes into getting the result that you want. And you really need an attorney that you can trust and that knows, that can look at the situation sitting above it and look down and meet your objective. And litigants can't see that. And as harmful and as upsetting and as emotional and as damning as the issue is, sexual abuse is not something that you can successfully raise.
Wow. This is the reason. That is my new jingle. If you don't mind sharing it with me, this is not a justice system. This is a legal system.
I don't think I was the first person to say that, but yeah.
but I love it, and I'd like to use it because that couldn't be a more accurate statement.
Right.
And that's really what it is. It is a legal system. It's a court of law.
I think I heard it 20 years ago in law school. So.
Wow, that's awesome. Jen, we want to, if you can give your website or any contact information, we'd like the folks that are listening, and a lot of people, we've just changed our time from 12 p.m., which we've maintained from several months now. Today's the first day that we're actually airing at 1 o'clock. So it's like anything else. When you change the schedule, everything's a little bit off for the first couple of shows. So I feel confident, excuse me, that a lot of our listeners are going to be downloading this show afterwards. So we'd really like for you to give, if you're not on overload with cases, or if you would potentially like to take some calls for potential clients, we'd like to offer your information that they have an opportunity not to call you so much, but maybe to email or maybe to go to a website where they can post something where we can say, okay, this is, whoops, hold on, we've got an alarm going off here. Sorry about that. Where they can get maybe some, maybe they can retain you for counsel.
Well, I'm happy to field emails, and I'm happy to give you my website.
Great.
It's www.anilaw, that's ANILAW.com. And my email is simply jani@anilaw.com. My office number is 415-491-0100, but to be fair, I'm in court most days, and the best contact method is email.
Great. And that's where I'd like to actually suggest to our listeners that they go to first, just so, especially with these high conflict situations, people want results today, not even tomorrow. They want it today. They want phone calls returned today. And because they are so emotionally driven during the time of these high conflict situations, they get very frustrated if they don't get a return call right away. So at least an email allows us, I know for myself, allows me flexibility to be able to, when the day is done, get back to these people before nightfall or, whatever. It just allows me more flexibility. And
sure.
I don't want to have our listeners inundating your phone lines and have you frustrated and saying, I'm never coming on again.
No, you know me. I wouldn't do that.
I know you wouldn't. But I want to suggest to the listeners that they not do that, the preferable connection point would be email first.
That'd be great.
We know that you were just on CNN. I don't know if you can offer anything else about the case that you're covering at this time. Maybe it's still, you're still...
I can't, unfortunately, talk about a live case.
Right, okay. And I didn't know what the status was, so I get that. We did see you on CNN. This is a fabulous case. We were talking about it. We were saying, here it is, the state of California allows medical marijuana cards to people legally so that they can get this medicinal marijuana. And there's hundreds of cases where Child Protective Services comes in and they contradict what the state has already approved, and they use that as a means to, in several instances, remove a child from their home.
And it's a big problem, and I come across two types of counties because it's all county specific.
Okay.
And one type of county follows the law, and they say, okay, did the parent do anything inconsistent with good parenting?
Okay.
And if they have, then we deal with that issue. And that's really where the focus needs to be. So whether or not medical marijuana is an issue, it really relates to, did the parent do anything that caused the child harm?
Okay.
And in and of itself, the law actually, according to a case named Destiny S.,
okay.
the law says that it doesn't matter if a parent uses alcohol, Vicodin, marijuana, heroin, it doesn't matter. There has to be a causal connection between the drug use, whether it's legal or not, and harm to the child connected through bad parenting, a bad decision. And what I see is in the counties that follow the law, Destiny S, Drake M, Alexis E, then it's not an issue. In the counties that don't follow the law, in the counties that have moral assumptions and judgments that predispose their opinions, then the parents are in trouble. And so it's a real fight to have to show the court that it needs to follow the law. I had a good result in Kern County, unexpected, and Judge Palmer in Kern County followed the law. So, but you never know when you have a judge that is either prone to being influenced by a given political party or, whatever the case may be. Right. The law is very clear. The law is that you have to look at the conduct of the parent. And if the conduct is merely use of medication, again, be it marijuana or any other drug, unless that use causes harm to the child, then there is no case in dependency.
And that makes perfect sense. I mean, what judge, attorney, minors counsel, president, politician, whomever, who doesn't go out and on a weekend with their spouse or their friends and have a couple of drinks that would cause inebriation? If you're not driving, guess what? That's illegal. You can get inebriated and be a parent and go home and go to sleep and wake up the next day and all is back to normal.
That's right. I mean, there has to be, the bottom line, in my position in these cases is always, what is the conduct incompatible with parenthood? If that can't be defined in one sentence, there's no case.
Right. Do they, now, they being the other side,
they being court, actually. I asked the court that question.
And what is the response that you typically get?
Again, hypothetically, because I can't talk about specific cases.
Right.
It varies. Oftentimes, a court will simply say, it's because I said so.
Okay.
And it's ironic being a parent myself, thinking, at the times that I tell my child, Mommy, why this? Because I said so. It's the same response that I get from courts sometimes, and that is the attitude that they have when they can't find a reason to justify jurisdiction. They say, because I said so. And so,
Wow.
Being private counsel, I have the luxury of being able to file a writ petition from that type of ruling, whereas appointed counsel really don't have time.
Okay.
And challenging the jurisdictional findings, because I said so, is very effective and changes the state of the law. So that's just, my thoughts on that.
Right. Jen, we want to have you back on periodically. We need your input. So many parents, they don't know what direction to go. There's many parents that don't have the money to retain counsel, even though your prices are more than fair. I mean, folks, I just want to let you know, she is truly a fair attorney. No, you really are. I'm not saying it to butter you up or to have you come and give us more legal advice and give us some legal input into a dark situation at times. But that's the fact of the matter. Thank you so much for taking your time.
My pleasure.
Yes, please. We want to have you back on soon, and I'll be giving you a great heads up next time. And and thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You know, folks, reach out to her. She's a plethora of information. She is an expert. She knows how to handle cases. She's soft-spoken, but she is as aggressive as they come when need be. And it's great to have that fluctuation and not walk into a room where people don't know what to expect from you. That's when you have the upper hand. She's a professional that handles things according to the situation. There's a situation right now in Orange County, and I want to get this doctor who is a parent on the line with us. There is a child who there was sexual abuse allegations in this case. In this case, and it's one of the only ones that I've ever heard with the dynamics involved here, the father who the allegations were against actually has fled the country, and he hasn't been here for months. At this point, it should be cut and dry, because the mother in this case who alleged this abuse, or she didn't allege the abuse, excuse me, the mother in this case of the child, she lives a couple of miles from the child, but the courts won't allow this child to be back with the mother. We're really concerned. This case has now been taken to be addressed, and somebody has petitioned for guardianship. Why isn't this child being returned to her parent? The court gave custody to the father. We need to find out why. We're going to try to get Dr. Dillon, the biological mom, on the line and see if we can get her, because this is really important, folks. How does this even happen? If the father flees, well then, okay, child gets given to mom.
Dr. Ruby?
Hi, Dr. Dillon. This is Tammy.
Yes.
I am calling from the National Safe Child Show. How are you today?
Oh, hi. How are you?
We're doing well, thank you. You are live right now. I just want to give you a heads up. We are familiar with your custody case, and we just wanted to speak to you for a moment if you have a couple of minutes to spare for us.
Yes, okay. I just need to step outside away from the office.
Thank you.
Yes, okay.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. You know, I was just, the small amount of information that I know regarding the new situation that has come to light is that there were allegations of abuse against the father from outside sources. The father fled the country. How long has it been since your child's father fled the country? How long hasn't he been in the U.S.?
It's been approximately 10 months.
He's been gone 10 months. He hasn't seen your daughter for 10 months, correct?
That is correct.
How long has it been since you've seen your daughter?
Such a horrific situation. I have not seen my daughter for a little over 6 months now.
Oh, my God. I'm so sorry, Dr. Dillon. I'm so sorry. This is such, I wish I could say it was an isolated incident. It's such a common incident. But the isolated part of your case is the father left. He was given full custody by the family law court, correct?
Yes, remarkably, while there were charges still pending against him at the DA's office, he was given full physical and legal custody.
Wow. He's gone. This, in my opinion, and I am not an attorney, this should be cut and dry. Do you live in a different state than your daughter resides?
No, my daughter resides in the county of Orange and has since birth, which is where I've resided since then too.
Do you know why you have not been allowed to see your child? You do want to. I guess I should ask you. I'm assuming you do want to see your daughter, correct?
There's not a day that goes by that I don't cry myself to sleep. I don't wake up in the middle of the night thinking of her. This has been the most terrible, terrible thing that could ever happen to any parent. And absolutely, I'm a fit, willing, able parent, and I would love to have my daughter right now.
My God. You're not allowed to see her. Do you know why? I mean, can you give a definitive answer?
That's a difficult question. I can speculate as to what I think the actual reason is, but I will tell you this much.
Okay.
I have been told that until I show remorse over the situation, that I will not be able to see my daughter.
Did you do something wrong? I mean, I know that, as a parent, when it's time to discipline your child, you expect for them to show remorse. Did you do something that you need to be remorseful of?
Absolutely not. And the thing that makes no sense to me or any of the attorneys that I have consulted with is that there have been no allegations of myself being unfit, no allegations that I abuse my child, no allegations that I have a drug or alcohol problem or any other emotional, psychological issue that would prevent me from being able to be a parent to my daughter.
She's in the same county as you are. I can't imagine not seeing my child, who I know.
It's torture is what it is.
Oh, Dr. Dillon, I have no words. I would like to, I know we've been following your case. I mean, and it really, we get so many horrendous cases, but yours really is at the top of the line with the dynamics that have happened that are so outrageous. Can I ask you, is it possible, if we'd like to invite you to come on to the show perhaps next week? We air at 1 p.m. We're in Hollywood. It's a beautiful studio. UBN Radio would love to. I know that Ann Walker had looked up your story and was just befuddled at what was happening. We'd like to invite you to be our guest next week.
And I just need to consult with my attorneys and clear it with them, but absolutely, okay. I would be happy to appear on your show.
Yeah, this would, we don't want to hurt your case. The point of this show is actually to help families and educate families and try to bring resolve to these issues. And if there's anything that could potentially hurt a case, it would never be worth having a guest on. So I appreciate you consulting first and making sure that everything, that you being on our show certainly won't hurt your case. Is there a guardianship petition that is coming forth right now?
Actually, there is. The sister-in-law of the father filed a petition in late December stating that she wanted to be a guardian to my daughter because the father has declared that he is not fit or able and he can no longer provide a stable home for my daughter to be in, and that he has no family member or relative that's able to care for her. So the shocking thing about all of this, Tammy, is that I'm no longer even fighting the father for custody of my child, and it's just completely bewildering why I don't have my daughter.
Who are you fighting? I mean, this doesn't make sense whatsoever. Who is it that you're fighting now? Who's still keeping your child away from you? Or do you know? I mean, if you don't know, don't feel obliged to answer. I'd rather you not if you don't have a definitive answer. I mean, but the question has to be raised. If he's not here and you're saying that he has given some statements, some declarations, some testimony that he doesn't want this anymore. He's not coming back, or?
That is correct. And for the longest time, we had no idea why he was not showing up to hearings in the family court. And we were all in the dark. And then in November of last year, his attorney announced that he is no longer able to enter the U.S. And shortly afterwards, he wrote a sworn declaration that he will not be coming back and that he no longer can care for my daughter. So it's not that I have, the reasons why I don't have my daughter has absolutely nothing to do with my ability to be a fit parent. Unfortunately, in my opinion, the reasons are political, and whatever the powers that be may be, they just do not want my daughter to be with me because, unfortunately, for them, if she is, the allegations that have been brought forward would be proven to be factual. And that, in my opinion, is the sole reason why I do not have my child.
Let me ask you a question. We spoke about remorse. I know we didn't get into great depth, and I do want you to consult with your counsel first, of course. But the one question I think that we all wonder is, do you believe at this time that your child is being abused sexually?
At this time, Tammy, I do not have concerns that she is being sexually abused.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, the answer is no. Remorse, remorse is given when it's a child, when you've done a crime, when you go before the parole board.
Absolutely.
This is a custody matter. The mere fact that somebody is petitioning for guardianship when a fit parent lives in the same vicinity as their child and can't sleep and is being tortured and cries herself to sleep. This makes no sense. I know
it
that
makes no sense.
No, it makes no sense at all. I'm hoping that you can come back on in person. We'd love to have you here. We'd like to cover these issues, and maybe, if your counsel tells you that there's certain things we can't talk about, of course, we always honor that. It's our hope. We leave this invitation open to you, Dr. Dillon, and we really respect how hard you have fought and how grounded you have been able to remain through this horrific terrorist situation. And our prayers really go out to you.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. And, one remark I will say before I get off the line here is that I used to think that this was just an isolated incident, and unfortunately it is not. And there are thousands of parents across this country because they contact me, they send me messages, and they're all going through experiences. It's not exactly identical, but very similar, where fit, able parents do not have custody of their children, and it has nothing to do with their parenting skills. On a side note, if it would be okay with you, then perhaps I can invite my family law attorney along so that there's questions that he may be able to answer, and I think he can shed some light on the issue in a broader parameter.
That would be, I don't want to say even better, because we honor you, but that would be fabulous. We always invite legal counsel to come on. We respect and we need to be educated by those who actually are very privy with the law. So by all means, we invite your counsel on with you. And
okay. Thank you.
That would be great. Please, I will definitely connect with you over the course of the next couple of days. We honor you for taking the call. We're really happy that you've given us this opportunity to converse with you for a bit. And again, we're sending out our prayers to you.
Thank you so much, Tammy.
Thank you, Dr. Dillon. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Folks, we have touched on some real issues here. We are working, actually, we've been in contact over the last week with some really important people who are experts, and we have a lot of experts who now want to come in during the shows and give their expert opinions. So this is, we're changing some of the dynamics of the show in reference to maybe not only always having one guest. In the future, we may perhaps even make the shows every other week so that we can then really get some meat and potatoes into the show as far as covering maybe 15-minute segments, so that we're able to give you a lot of information about a lot of issues that are going on within one show. And that takes time. These shows are not easy to put together, although it seems like we're just sitting here, and all of the shows, there's a lot of, behind-the-scenes work and research that's involved, and reaching out to people and trying to strategize schedules. As we know, we're all very busy. So this is the direction that we're going. We would encourage anybody who has a story to please contact us at let me give you the email, nscshow@yahoo.com. If you want us to cover an issue, please send us a timeline, send us a brief scenario of your case or of the situation, along with your name, contact number is preferable, and the state in which you are addressing the issue. That's really important. If you are a professional that's involved in this movement, that handles cases in some capacity, we encourage you to please allow us your expertise, because we need it. Parents need it. Children need it. So thank you, UBN, for once again honoring this situation, and for allowing this situation to come to light. And as usual, the National Safe Child Show always honors a child who is no longer here with us, whose life was taken away stolen. And today we want to honor the 6 children whose lives were stolen by their own mother. I can't imagine the child at that last breath looking into their mother's eyes. What would a child think? 6 times over, she felt no conscience. You want to talk about remorse? Folks, thank you so much for joining us today. We love you. We'll see you next week. The time has changed. It's 1 o'clock p.m. I hope that this accommodates our listeners and our viewers. We love you. We honor you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the National Safe Child Show on UBN Radio. For past episodes, visit the archives on ubnradio.com. And for more information, go to nationalsafechildcoalition.com. The views and opinions expressed in these radio programs are those of the individual hosts and do not reflect the official policy or position of Universal Broadcasting Network.